Hey, I'm not sure if you're aware, but over the past few weeks, I've been doing something pretty crazy. I've been building a video agency from zero to my first 100K in premium video clients. Well, at least that's the goal anyway. And we just got to the end of month one, and I've already landed my first 25K paid case study, and we've got a pretty good pipeline of opportunities that I've built up. Now, each week I've been sharing the behind the scenes and also just what's going on from start to finish. So, how I've been defining my niche, how I've been building outreach systems to attract premium clients, and then also have been pricing my services. Minimum 20K, ideally 50K. We've even got 100K opportunity in the pipeline that we're developing. So, really exciting stuff. And I've also been loving the comments and the feedback that I've been getting from these live calls I've been doing each week. So I wanted to share a bit of one of those calls with you today. Now, if you're a videographer or video business owner and you want to get more involved, join in on the behind the scenes and learn the step by step of what I'm doing to scale this business and also get support with scaling yours, then I'll leave a link in the description on how to get more involved. Now, in the meantime, enjoy this episode and let me know what you think in the comments below. We're now at the end of the first month of the Agency from Zero project. And really, month one was about dialing in the niche, validating it, making sure we're going in the right direction, doing our research, working on getting a paid case study, and really just sort of setting the foundations for everything. Very happy with the initial results. And now going into month two, now it's going to be more about the actual sales conversations, getting more meetings booked, getting some consistency on that front, and really focusing on getting to that initial 100K goal. So, first off, we'll do a bit of number crunching. So, in the last 4 weeks, we had 11 leads from email, 8 from LinkedIn. So, that's 19 in total just from the cold outreach. And from that, we've had 7 calls booked and 12 total interested. So, interesting. So, 37% of those leads have been booked in almost straight away. And then 63% have been interested. So they've said, yes, they want to have a call, but it's a timing thing. We've got some people booked in for next month, for example, and in a couple of weeks, there's some follow-ups to be done. So with those, it's just about staying on top of them. And then obviously there's the 2 network meetings that we did straight out the gate. So Marta's kindly put together lots of good information here. And some of the points I wanted to share. So first off, this is just from the first month, and we're still doing our research and dialing in our messaging. That was really the main focus. And then with every couple of calls that we've done, we're being very proactive in updating our messaging and our marketing. So before I go on, Marta, do you want to just jump in and just sort of say a bit about that process and just your take on it from initially setting up those campaigns, what it's been like iterating them, and any interesting takeaways?
Yeah, it was really interesting. I think the templates changed a lot since we initially launched the emails until today, and that's less than a month. Um, but not only that, but also the target audience. And I think the main thing was you having those discovery calls with the leads, especially the first one, which I think we had a fee on that, right? But it gave us so much valuable information, and that made us pivot the email templates and our offer, which then led to more leads. Um, so yeah, I think the key is being super proactive, and not just let the campaigns roll and expect results to come in, but you have to, be proactively stepping in and pivoting based on the information you get on every discovery call.
Yeah, good points. And I'd actually say rather than pivoting it, it was more like narrowing because we started with finance, with big picture, and then within that, 2 fields emerge, which was IFAs, financial advisors, and VCs.
Yeah.
And we're still having conversations with both. But through those conversations and the narrowing, we've identified that they both have different pain points and challenges. And so you've been creating campaigns with different messaging that targets each of them.
Yeah, exactly that. Narrowing down. But then also again, very different pain points. It's like very different niches.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. And I think our messaging hasn't changed like massively, but there are really important bits that are clearly more connected to how people are thinking, that are resonating more with how people are, yeah, how people are operating within each of these different sub niches.
And also on the last call you mentioned having a feel of the lingo they use. So that's something that we also implemented in the templates. Words like trickle, I can't get that out of my mind. But yes, those terminology that's commonly used in those niches we've implemented into the templates.
Yeah. And a huge win and compliment to you, Marta, as well, was the call that Ed and I had yesterday with a prospect. And it's a company that has over 2 trillion in assets under management. So a big firm. And he said, just first off, whatever happens on this call, just want to congratulate you because I loved your approach, your messaging, just the fact it got through to our CEO and through to me, that speaks volumes because I put hundreds of these messages in spam or delete them daily. So I think that was a
That was
nice
exciting, yeah.
indicator that end of week 4, getting that kind of feedback that the messaging is resonating. So yeah, the main exciting wins at the moment. First paid case study in progress. We have a few very ideal prospects. So the one I mentioned about yesterday, they anchored it could be up to 100K deal. Another one, sort of early conversation. There's another one to happen, but the initial price anchor was around 250K. That's what the value that he stands to create for his business if the project is a success, not what we'd necessarily been charging for this first one. But yeah, some really very promising conversations. And really, it's like the less, sometimes maybe the less sort of tangible thing. It's not like we've got this deal closed, but just that feeling of having learned so much about our audience, it brings a lot of confidence and clarity to me and to us as a team, knowing that we're going in the right direction. And that's really the value of going through that more discovery style process. Yeah, getting clear on exactly who we want to target and their challenges, the who being really, really important. Um, yeah, we haven't needed any existing portfolio or case studies so far. And we've been building out our Grand Slam offer based on our research. So that's fun. So, really, the initial offers, and I'll show you in a sec, the initial messaging was more open about, hey, we can build a case study, or it's a little bit more generic. Whereas now we're getting more specific in terms of understanding what our people want. So yeah, this has also all been done at a time where people are saying like cold outreach is dead, or you can't do it in this economy, or AI is changing everything. And you'll also notice like Apple and Gmail, they've got these spam filters and promotional filters and all these different types of filters happening at the moment that are becoming, more and more complex. But despite all that, we're still getting results from the tried and true methods. And I will always like to point out that I think the biggest thing, like with any good campaign, it's the creative, which is the bit that is ultimately going to make the biggest difference. Or in this case, it's the messaging. It's the actually knowing your audience, knowing what makes them tick. Good messaging is always the most important piece over good strategy. Like the 20/80 rule, it's something that recurs throughout business, throughout life. Tony Robbins is the one who says that business is 80% mindset and 20% strategy. It's sort of similar in this case. It's the 80% is the customer understanding and the pain points and the challenges and dialing in the messaging. And then the 20% is actually the strategy itself. So yeah, I'd already told you what the guy said about feedback from yesterday. And yeah, this is all the beginning. So we're just getting started really. This is month 1. So also some of our challenges at the moment. Be interested to hear from Marta and Ed as well, if there anything you want to add to this. But I was brainstorming some of my own challenges, remembering who's who. So speaking to a lot of people, there's so many names. There's multiple Johns, for example, who then referred to different people within their businesses, and it's a bit of a mind game. So staying organized with my notes, like using Apple Notes, and then also the CRM, that's really, really important, and using the calendar as well, just to make sure people are booked in. There's been a couple of occasions where I've slipped up a little bit, like someone's replied by email and I missed a message, but luckily got to it in time and haven't lost any opportunities from that. But it's just really important to make sure you're getting people booked into the calendar after that first call for the follow-ups, or making sure you're setting yourself a timed event, not just leaving it to an endless to-do list. Um, Streamlining the call prep and one-page proposals. So doing the one-page proposal the first time for Alex took quite a while, But after that, it's become a lot easier and can be done in, yeah, even 10 minutes. 10 minutes creating and then 10 minutes refining it. And AI has been very helpful with that. So important not to lean too much on AI. I'll still craft the proposal myself, do a rough outline, and then I'll ask AI to do a version. And it's kind of a amalgamation of the two because you get a lot of good ideas from AI. But at the end of the day, the most useful thing when it comes to building the one page proposals are the notes that I personally have been taking myself while going through the calls. It's not just relying on AI and its transcripts. It's actually making sure that you're paying attention during the call because AI will miss things. And speed to lead is always a challenge, or it's just something we're always looking to improve. And that should just be an ongoing thing. Aiming for under 5 minutes, that's the goal. But we're saying to you guys all the time, the speed to lead is one of the most important factors. It really is. And, we're going through this ourselves now, and it's a challenge at times. Sometimes you've got back to back meetings and you've got other things going on. But the aim, the goal is always for that 5 minute mark. And then as expected, yeah, results never come from the first touch point. Like that first message going out, I don't think we get any. I don't think, Marta, we've had any responses to the first message.
Not really. I think the lead that came in today probably was the first one, but the other ones were chasers.
Yeah,
All of
yeah,
them.
yeah. It's usually the second, third, or fourth message, and then you'll see some examples in a minute. That it's then sometimes after the fourth message they respond, and then you've got another few messages back and forth, and it's anywhere from like the 5 to the 15th touch point to get a meeting booked in. So I think just knowing that, being aware of that, helps with the sometimes that feeling of going a little bit crazy of doing so many follow-ups and so many messages. So yeah, due to our time constraints, so this isn't full time for us. We're still doing other work. We really haven't been capitalizing on these opportunities as much as we could have. So, for example, there are another 40 people who've replied in our CRM, people who've replied to email and LinkedIn. Those are people that we can be following up. We could just be getting on the phone. But to be honest, we've been pretty booked out in terms of just making space for these calls as well. So if we wanted to, I reckon we could have, if we were like just aggressively on it the whole time and our calendars were open, I don't know, I think we could probably have had double the number of meetings by this point. Ed's nodding. You agree?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. There's lots of people we're making some calls, but we could follow up more. And we could have objection handling conversations with some to get them into a meeting, etc.
That's the thing. It's partly that mentality of right. If your calendar's open, you have to get meetings booked. You want to get some deals in, then it's possible. The more you push, the more results you're going to get from this process. And remember as well, we're doing this in one of the toughest niches there is. So typically, this was a niche where people would get lower results. It was more of an uphill battle. They would get fewer responses and fewer meetings. So I think we're demonstrating that it is possible, even in a very tough niche, for this method to work well.
There was something I wanted to share, Jackson, too, just
Yeah.
building on, we were talking about, the potential 100K prospect. And I think as you mentioned, we don't have a case study in this niche. And I know that, for a lot of people going into a new niche, it's like, oh, but nobody will want to work with me and have to have a case study. And people think, how will, I was speaking to somebody else earlier, and they're saying, well, how would somebody pay me even for a case study? And this prospect said, put out the idea of 100, but also said, it can't be too low. If you come back with offers too low, we know it's not going to work. So I don't know, if it's 10, even 25, probably won't work. So it's really important to have that perspective too. We don't have to just be thinking people won't want to spend anything, people won't invest. If they see value, if they see that you're different, they will. And they haven't asked for case studies. They haven't asked us for ideas, or we wouldn't give them anyway. But they haven't been saying, give me an idea to see if I would go through this. Tell me what I would get for that 100 right now. They haven't demanded we know all the jargon industry, and it's full of jargon. There's a lot of technical terms, abbreviations. Obviously, we're doing our best to get up to speed in them, but it hasn't stopped us having good meetings either because we just ask questions about things. And we're mainly focused around the challenge and the problem. So I just want to kind of mention a few things I think people get sort of hung up on sometimes, worrying about going into a new niche that actually they're not coming up.